Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. And we are back with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies now. With Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. That's the second one. We're keeping track. And yeah, this was still good. Not as good as the first one, in my opinion, but still good. And just like the first one, it doesn't necessarily need to be 2.5 hours long. There are some things you could cut, like with Will going after Jack, he finds him very quickly. However, he and the crew of the Pearl are trapped on an island with some natives who are trying to cook Jack because they think he is their god, but they're going to cook him to kill him to free their god. I don't know. That could have been taken out entirely. And much like the first one, they also do this whole thing where people go on different boats. So this movie begins with Will and Elizabeth getting arrested for their treason, basically, for letting Jack go at the end of the first film. Norrington is also wanted for arrest, but he's gone. He resigned from his position as Commodore, and he's gone. We do find him later, but he's gone right now. So Will and Elizabeth are imprisoned. One of our two new antagonists, Lord Cutler Beckett, played by, I forgot the name, but he was in Bohemian Rhapsody. He was Miami Beach in that movie. But so he makes a deal with Will to find Jack Sparrow to get Jack's compass, which Will thinks that he wants it to go find the treasure from the first film, but that doesn't point to the treasure. We find out it points to whatever the person holding it desires. So that's what Beckett wants it for something. Meanwhile, Jack has been targeted by Davy Jones. He is contacted by Bootstrap Bill Turner, who's not dead. And there's something of a plot hole-ish from the first one that is kind of resolved here that I didn't think of until he said something. He tells Jack that he was blasted out of a cannon, which we knew from the first one, and drowned to the depths of Davy Jones' locker. Unable to breathe, unable to move, unable to die. And that's what I thought. It's like, I didn't think of it, but neither did the characters in the first film, where they're like, oh, your father was banished to the depths. It was only after that we found out that we needed his blood to, So, why not go back to the place that you left him, bring him back up, and break the curse? I'm assuming you would know, or if they explained at some point that they went back to get him and he was gone, that would make sense. But why didn't they go back? If he's not dead, he's just floating there in the water, unable to die. I'm just saying. It's a bit of a plot hole. Just a bit of a plot hole. Just saying. But, yes. So, like I said, Will finds Jack very fast. Jack is now the target of the Kraken, so he has put the Pearl ashore, basically, or in shallow waters to shore, whatever. And the others, they've all been captured. So we have this whole wacky thing with them trying to rescue Jack that takes up 15 minutes of runtime so we can pad this out to be 2.5 hours. And then this whole trying to save Elizabeth thing goes out the window because the governor, her father, rescues her and she escapes to go upon the same boat. To go upon a boat. It's a boat that Will would be on later. But up on a boat disguised as a crewman, and then has to pretend that her dress is haunted so that they can lead her to Tortuga. When she gets there, she meets up with Jack, who all the people have gathered there. They need to gather souls for Davy Jones, and by this point, Jack has given Will to Davy Jones as a payment because he owes him 100 souls now for his payment. Because he's after Jack's soul, but if Jack gives Davy Jones 100 of them, no. But what Jack is really after is he's after a key. He has a picture of a key. He's after a key. It unlocks the chest, the titular dead man's chest. And much like with the Pirate's Life for Me song, in the first one, they do run with that song. It's one of the first things, 15, when they first introduced the pirates in this. Introduced Jack and his crew, Gibbs is singing, yo, 15 men on a dead man's chest, yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. So that, and they reference that. And they do foreshadow the next one later when Teodama says, are you to travel to the world's end? Will you be able to brave what is at world's end or something like that? But yes, they go to Teodama, and that's when they find out that the chest and the legend and that the reason that Davy Jones is the way he is that he fell in love, but he got his heart broken. So he literally cut his heart out, put it in a chest, and he's cursed to roam the seas. And we are hinted at what is to come with the next one. You know, to stab Davy Jones' heart. You could kill Davy Jones, but the Dutchman needs a captain, which also sort of hints at the fifth one. We'll get to that when I get to it, but it kind of does. I just hope that they decide not to reboot it and just continue, because we just need one more. You can't have a cliffhanger like you did at the end of 5 and not pay it off. You need to just, all this talk of having Margot Robbie in a rebooted Pirates. No, screw that. We need an actual sequel. Finish that off first. I'm sick of this shit. We're never going to find out what's going on with Transformers. A lot of people don't want to know that. But I kind of want to know what they're going to do with Unicron being Earth. And they just keep going back to prequels, basically. I kind of want to know where that goes. And I want to know where that cliffhanger at the end of 5 goes to. Over here, back in this movie, on Tortuga, Jack and Elizabeth come across Norrington, who has been hired for Jack's crew because he's trying to get souls, so he adds more and more, but doesn't matter, most of them die anyway. And yeah, they eventually find, because Jack's unable to use the compass, something's wonky, he's not able to use it, so he has Elizabeth use it, and eventually they find the chest. Also, Will ends up on the ship that Elizabeth was on, but then the Kraken attacks and breaks. I do want to point out something earlier. When they first find it's a boat wreckage, they think is the Flying Dutchman. And Will goes over there, but Jack knows what it is, and he even hits Gibbs to say something. And he's like, there's been a rough shape. And then he goes over there, and it just the whole thing comes up, and it's like, oh no, that's the Flying Dutchman. This is a wreckage caused by the Kraken. And yeah, and the Kraken is a big force of nature. Too bad it's not any more movies. I'm serious. I'll talk about it in the third one, but they really nerfed it. This thing is a force of nature. And that's probably how they shot themselves in the foot with this. Because this thing is huge, and it's a game ender. And that's probably why it's not in the next one, because they're like, oh, wait. If we have this big monster thing, it'll solve a lot of Davy Jones's problems, and therefore we need to get rid of it. So we'll talk about it then more, but yeah, there's a force of nature here. It's fantastic. Also, with Will finding Jack very fast, Pentel and Ragetti somehow find him too. and plan to steal the Black Pearl. But then when Jack and the others go back to the boat, the ship, they join the crew, I guess, and they're just a part of the crew. And they do, I'll give it to them, they do mention they escape jail, and they have the dog, which is left behind on an island, and leads to a post-credit scene, which we'll talk about. But yeah, yeah, and so yeah, eventually everybody meets up on this island where they find the chest. But Davy Jones's men are also there, and I do like there's a scene where this one guy gets his head knocked off, and he's yelling, "Yo, over here!" And the body runs into the tree. He's like, "No, that is a tree." Just how he says it. "No, that is a tree." Just how he says it. But then there's a switcheroo, as earlier, Jack gets a jar of dirt from Tia Dalma, which you know is going to play into something, but Jack is able to unlock the chest, but there's like a three-way sword battle between him, Will, and Norrington. And like Elizabeth's trying to get their attention. She's like, nothing. And Pintel and Ragetti show up and steal the chest. So she's got to go after them. And they're fighting over the chest. She has no sword. I don't know why. Norrington steal it? I don't know. She's trying to get them. The others are fighting each other, which ends in this big old thing where it's like a spinning wheel. And there's a funny gag when they're kind of arguing over the chest, and they come spinning by, and they have Norrington and Will fighting on this wheel, and then Jack's just running after it like this, and they're just like they continue going on with the chest. But Jack eventually gets the key and opens the chest and steals the heart, puts it in there, which is where he puts it here next to his heart. And then Pinto and Ragetti pick up the chest, not knowing that it's been opened. He puts it in the jar of dirt. And this is where I think this whole thing. So he puts it in a jar of dirt to deceive them into thinking that it's still in the chest. But for some reason, they have Norrington figure it out and steal the heart. It's the set of the next movie, but I feel like it's not needed. Like, what was the point of him putting it in if him going to put it into the dirt, if Norrington's just gonna, why not, again, wasting time. Why not have Norrington be the one that gets the key, opens it up, steals the heart, and takes off into the ocean. Takes off there and already went. But, to each his own. But Norrington has the heart as he runs, leaves him in there with the chest, and the chest goes back to Davy Jones. He finds it empty, and he's pissed. And so he goes after, this is after, but he goes after Jack and the others on the Black Pearl, where they are forced to abandon the ship. There's been some flirting between Jack and Elizabeth in this movie, and she does kiss him, but unfortunately Will sees it. This is a tactic to shackle him to the ship so that Davy Jones doesn't come back. He tried to abandon the ship, but he came back to help them by using a bag or a rope bag full of gunpowder and rum. And they always run a joke, why is the rum always gone? The rum is not gone this time. They use the rum to blow it up. All the nameless people that they got at the at Tortuga are killed. Cannon fodder. And then they would blow up on the Kraken to sidetrack it. He comes back and he swallows up the pearl and Jack down to Davy Jones' locker. And then we cut to some setup for the next film with Norrington showing up at Beckett's office, brought in by his second in command or whatever, and he has the heart of Davy Jones setting up that. He also has his full parlay things that Jack had. It was given to Jack by Will. Supposed to pardon him. Full pardon, not parlay, full pardon. And then they're back at Tia Dalma's place in that cave or whatever it is, and they say they're all going to go to World's End to get Jack back. He says, well, then you would need a captain, and it's Barbossa. With the monkey. Where did the monkey stayed? And I guess Tia Dalma brought him back to life, I guess. He's in an apple, which was a fun twist back when I first saw it. I was like, him? He's, what? And there's a post-credit scene where the dog left on the island with the Aborigines is now the king. So are they going to set him on fire as their guy? I don't know. But this was good. This is good. I would say it's pretty good. It's long, but not as long as the third one. That one's probably the longest of movies. And it's probably going to have the most things they could have taken out. Like in this movie specifically, I would say that the whole Aboriginal Island thing could have been taken out. Maybe the fight scene between the three and the wheel and running around, that could have been shortened, taken out. Just had an argument over the chest. I don't know. You could have had Will and Norrington arguing over it and Jack take off with it so he could do the switch, and it could have been in less time. I don't know. There's a few things in here. The whole jumping from boat to boat to boat thing seems a little much. There's just some things you could have taken out. But, yeah, it's still a good movie, I think. I've always thought the first three movies of this are actually decent, good films. It's when you get to the other two that I have some problems. But, what are your thoughts on Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest? Oh, before I go, I have to mention the score. I forgot to mention it in the last one. I'll mention this one. The score by Hans Zimmer. This was also directed by Gore Verbinski, so it looks really good. But the score by Hans Zimmer is fantastic. Whenever it plays, it's a great score. It accompanies the films, both of them, greatly. It's fantastic. Just want to point that out. So, what are your thoughts on Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest? Let me know in the comments. Let me make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.